An operational issue that we decided to cover that we feel that Macy's is having a problem with has to do with their supply chain management or inventory management. What is the issue? The issue is that Macy's has a pattern of over ordering products that they keep in stock and store and items that they store in warehouses that they now ship for online purchases. They have an abundance of clearance racks. If you walk into a Macy's store, you'll notice that all over the store there are clearance racks overflowing with items that are marked from anywhere from 50% up to 80% off. And this is where you'll find a lot of people rummaging through trying to get the good deals on last season's or 2 seasons ago items. So the why buy when you can wait until it hits rock bottom clearance has become a shopping habit for people who frequent Macy's because they know that if they wait a month, they can go in and get whatever item it was that they were looking at. They can go in and get that at a clearance price and save the money. And of course, at the end of the day, that's hurting Macy's bottom line. For the inventory turnovers and outstanding stock of items, according to the chart, we can see that obviously in 2011, Macy's had their highest inventory turnover, and it's been slowly declining. So what that is saying is that they are keeping their inventory longer and longer, and the longer they keep the items in store, the more money that they're losing on those items through various losses. Next, okay, so why is this an issue? Obviously, this is an issue because Macy's earnings is already going down. It's down 46%. Their revenue is down 5.3%. They're missing estimates for profit margins and sale margins, and it's affecting the stock prices. Keeping these products cuts into the profits. So the longer they hold on to these items, the more they have to put out in storing them, transferring them around the store, paying people to move them from one location to another, and then eventually what they end up paying to get rid of those items, whether it's for donation or selling them to another retailer. So holding these items would be compared to like the equivalent of having a car on a car lot and not actually trying to sell that car. So what would that do? You're going to have to pay to keep that car there. Someone has to wash it. Someone has to insure it, and someone has to go out and maintain it, start it up, take it around. You can't just let it sit. And eventually the car has such a low value that it's not even worth dealing with. So keeping these clothes 2-3 seasons past what they were meant to be sold in, they eventually have a $0 value for Macy's. So they have a failure also to properly analyze their past shopping trends. So if they were properly analyzing the shopping trends, they would see that obviously we're not selling what we're bringing into stores, and we're selling them at a margin of 0, or we're having to pay to get rid of them. Or if they sit in the back room too long and it's the end of year, then you have to pay extra taxes on them. And of course, that eats into profits as well. Anyone who's in the retail shopping industry has to stay ahead of the curve for analyzing the past and future shopping trends. And Macy's is not being very successful in this. If you see here, Macy's has been consistently falling in their share of the total retail market, and I feel like they're not paying attention to that enough. Forecasting purchase trends, even though it is difficult, it's a make or break for people who are in retail sales, and their primary source of income comes from selling these merchandise products. So then we look at where do these items go when Macy's or other stores fail to sell them but need to get rid of them so they don't keep drawing on the revenue? Well, they end up selling them in large quantities to stores like Ross, TJ Maxx, and Home Goods. They go in and they buy huge lots of merchandise, and then they can turn around and sell it at a profit for themselves. So if Macy's can stop that from happening, they'll be able to increase revenues. Next, we have found out that obviously these poor revenue numbers have been slowly and now more rapidly eating away at Macy's Corporation. And Macy's has recently announced that they're going to be closing 100 of their stores starting in 2017 until obviously all the 100 stores are closed. According to this chart, we can see that from 2014 in the first quarter, Macy's has done nothing but just completely fall off the map when it comes to their store sales. So is this issue unique to Macy's? Absolutely not. This issue was much more rampant before the collapse, the economic collapse in 2008. Target is a good example. Target was well known for seriously over ordering, and then you could wait, 3 or 4 weeks and then go back into a store and just find racks throughout the store for 50, 75% off and get the things that you wanted. But when the market collapsed, Target changed what they were doing. They lowered their orderings. They started offering limited quantities, and then that drove sales. People always like something that's a limited edition or limited quantity. These decisions helped bring Target's revenues back up and lower their costs for shipping, storage, warehousing, and disposal of the products that they were not selling. And of course, Target and Macy's are not alone in this. Numerous retail chains nationwide, and then even the smaller retail stores, the mom and pop places, they're finding themselves in the same boat, where maybe they've over-ordered to get a lower price on the item, but then it's going to turn around and be hurtful to them because they can't get rid of those items. Okay, so the core concept for this is obviously the strategic objectives. Macy's is not succeeding as well as they have in the past. They're just falling flat on their face at this point. They are in the midst of a strategic failure, especially looking at this particular issue. They're failing to strengthen their market standing, and that's going to impact the company's future. So not relating properly to their target market, or not even understanding necessarily who their target market is for years, is now having a serious impact on their competitive vitality. So if they don't have an understanding of what it is that who they're selling to, why are people buying our products over someone else, they're not going to be able to get rid of the items that they're stocking on their shelves. And finally, to kind of wrap this all up and bring everything together and bring it back together with our first presentation, final recommendations, obviously for the issues of the inventory management, like I discussed before, they need to implement a plan to cut down on the quantity of items that they're ordering to keep in stock and in the stores, and things that they're putting in warehouse, maybe for online sales. And this is going to also mean that they're going to need to possibly limit the amount of products that go into a line. So instead of having 50 shirts made by their company brand, they need to limit that down to 30 shirts. And if you limit that, obviously you can cut costs on manufacturing, shipping, shelf life, and of course, sales. These are absolutely necessary reduction for the companies to make. And then what they need to do, secondly, for this is they need to clearance out these items quicker. the longer they wait to clearance them, the less they are in season. So no one's going to want to be coming in winter and necessarily buying the items that are on clearance that are short because they need the winter items. And another thing that this is causing is when people are going to Macy's, they're going there just for those clearance racks. So it's a distraction from the regular price items, and that's a detriment to Macy's as well. For the restructuring of their stock buyback policies, they need to make sure that they're only doing stock buybacks with money that is not needed for debt control. They need to stop taking money from the research and development team and putting that towards the stock buybacks, because that's just hurting them in the long run as well. And then they need to be only using dividends for shareholder payouts instead of doing the stock buybacks, because that's not doing the company any good as well. And then for the marketing standpoint, they need to be paying closer attention to market trends that are going to be affecting the sales, because this is going to tie back into the inventory management, understanding, forecasting, and then figuring out who the target market is, watching these trends. That way they can increase their sales. And that pretty much wraps it up for this. Hopefully everything kind of tied together for you. And thank you for listening to our presentation.